He sucks up all the oxygen.
You're giving Trump too much oxygen.
He's sucking all the oxygen out of the room.
Need a little more oxygen.
But with Trump stealing almost all the oxygen here, it's become nearly impossible for any of his opponents to spark momentum of their own.
I can't breathe. They've said it again and again. Donald Trump sucks all of the oxygen out of the room, grabbing the media's attention with his every move and word. But can the Donald do it again? Let's find out more with today's roundtable guest. Joining us today, senior political contributor at Forbes.com and co-host of the Daily Wrap, seen right here on Newsmax TV, Rick Ungar, and radio host and author of Dear Father, Dear Son, 2 Lives, 8 Hours, Larry Elder. Thank you both for joining us.
Good to be here, as always.
Well, I think it's fair to say that Trump did, in fact, suck the oxygen out of the last debate. I want to retire that phrase if I could, but according to NPR, his talking time was nearly double that of Senator Rand Paul, with a 2-minute lead over the nearest candidate, Jeb Bush. Larry, will others be able to breathe this time, or do you think that Donald will once again dominate the debate?
Well, I think he'll dominate the debate, but I also think that Ben Carson is going to have a secondary place. He's pretty much closing the gap between him and Donald. And I remember walking down LAX in 2008 and looking on either side of the magazine rack and seeing nothing but cover after cover after cover of Barack Obama. Unfortunately, Donald Trump is the Barack Obama of this election cycle. He's struck a chord with people, and of course he's taken a lot of, pardon the expression, oxygen out of the air, out of the room, rather.
It makes me cringe. Rick, commentators have criticized GOP candidates for running basically kind of a mutiny, not a campaign, turning the running into a shouting match. Do you think candidates will stand by as Trump's voice carries, or try to be the loudest voice in the room?
Well, look, I mean, and first of all, I don't know if I'm ready to call Trump the Obama of this election cycle, but the strategies are obvious. Trump is going to do everything he can to repeat what he did in the first debate, because it was incredibly effective for him. He will try and control the time. He will try and keep it personal, because those invectives are working for him. It's going to be up to the other candidates to push him towards substance. The more substance one or more of those candidates can interject into the debate, the better off they'll do.
Well, maybe one of those candidates will be Dr. Ben Carson. You mentioned it, Larry. Let's take a look at that New York Times CBS poll. Donald Trump, Dr. Ben Carson, take a look at that. They are now neck and neck just ahead of tomorrow's debate. Carson now stands within 4 points of the GOP frontrunner, making the pair basically tied in a statistical dead heat. Larry, what do you attribute to Carson's recent climbs in the polls?
Well, he's Donald Trump without the bombast. But when you look at some of the statements that Ben Carson has made, they've been pretty bold statements as well. He accused Planned Parenthood of engaging in genocide. He once said that Obamacare was the worst thing that's happened in this country since slavery. So he said some pretty striking things as well, but for some reason people don't attack him the way they attack Donald Trump. He's quiet. He's soft-spoken. You have to kind of almost lean forward to hear him speak, as opposed to leaning back when Donald Trump speaks. So he's kind of the anti-Trump.
That is very true. In an August interview with Meet the Press, Dr. Carson said Donald Trump's outside-of-the-box approach to politics has actually helped his campaign. Why? Well, here's what he had to say.
Fewer people are talking about my lack of political experience now, and that's good.
So, Rick, has Donald Trump helped Dr. Carson?
In a sense, I actually like what Larry said. He is the anti-Donald Trump. He is an outsider, which is very much in vogue this political season. He's a very nice man. I've had occasion to interview him a few times. Very hard not to like him. He's a decent guy. He has said some outrageous things. The problem that he'll now encounter, or maybe a benefit, now that he is pulled much higher in the polls, people are going to focus more on what he's saying, just like they did for Donald Trump. We'll see how that plays. It could work out well for him, maybe not so well. The coming months will tell.
Larry, should Trump be afraid of him?
Trump is going to be the target of a whole lot of people. I think it'll be, it'll start out.
Yeah, but they're not leading in the polls like Carson is.
Right, but I think at the beginning of this debate, Donald Trump will set out the tone. I imagine there's going to be some sort of question about why it is you're saying things about how Carly Fiorina looks, why it is that you said that Dr. Ben Carson was not a good doctor. Why are these kinds of things necessary? And if Donald Trump backpedals and starts saying things like, well, let's focus on substance, I didn't mean to make this thing superficial, I think that'll turn the whole kind of debate. But if he doubles down, I think there are a lot of people that are coming with a lot of attack lines, and those attack lines are going to come out.
Yeah, it does seem like he needs to.
Now,
Actually,
I don't think that will start out the debate. I think that the moderators tomorrow night are going to want to take a different approach at the outset, and my money is on them going quickly for substance and not first to Donald Trump.
All right, we're going to come back with more with our roundtable. Rick Ungar, Larry Elder coming up. We're going to take a look at Hillary Clinton's tanking poll numbers. Look at that. And what they mean for her campaign. Plus, female voters pulling away from Hillary. A sharp decline in only 8 weeks. All that and much more coming up next. You're watching Newsmax Now. Don't go away. And continuing our roundtable with senior political contributor at Forbes.com and co-host of the Daily Wrap, seen right here on Newsmax, Rick Ungar, and radio host and author of Dear Father, Dear Son, 2 Lives, 8 Hours, Larry Elder. Thanks, guys, for sticking around. Last round, we focused on the GOP side. Let's turn our attention now to the Democrats. Frontrunner Hillary Clinton appears to be kind of sliding in the polls. Maybe you heard about this. The latest news, Washington Post, ABC News poll now shows her dipping below 50% support. Meanwhile, Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Bernie Sanders appear to be making their way up, climbing to just over 20%. Another shocking statistic from the same poll shows Clinton may also be losing the female vote. In just 8 weeks, female Democratic leaning support has dropped 29%. Rick, why are women backing away from Clinton, and how much will this hurt her moving forward?
To answer the second question first, it's really, really hard to say. Look, I mean, she's lost a ton of support with women. I guess we have to keep in mind, though, that in 2008, same thing kind of happened, where you saw white women who you thought would stick with Hillary defect to the Obama camp. Now that's what's happening again. She is hanging on to the non-white female voters, but it would certainly appear to be a problem. Look, it all comes down to one thing. Either this motivates Joe Biden to get into the race or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, I think you'll probably see a lot of these people will come back, not happily necessarily, but with nowhere else to go.
Larry, why do you think there's such a disconnect there and they're pulling away?
I think it all has to do with credibility. It all has to do with the email scandal. And I think maybe women, because they perceive her to be possibly the first presidential likely candidate to be a female, they're holding her up to a higher standard. They want somebody who's going to do a good job. They want somebody who's going to be trustworthy. They want somebody who's going to be of high character. And I think they're deeply, deeply disappointed in this scandal.
Rick, is there any chance that she can win him back?
Yeah, as I say, I think the way she gets them back, I don't think you're going to see a lot of defection to the Sanders camp. I think if Joe Biden were to decide to enter, you'll see a lot of those people go there. But if he doesn't, yes, they're going to come back, just like a lot of voters are going to come back, because when it comes push to shove, Hillary, absent Joe Biden certainly, is going to be the nominee of the Democratic Party, for better or for worse.
Well, Hillary may be relying on someone else to help her garner up some of that support that she's lost. Let's take a look at what she had to say on Extra regarding a running mate.
Have you considered Bill as a running mate?
It would not be possible for him to ever succeed to the position. At least that's what I've been told. So you know it has crossed my mind.
So it may not be possible for Hillary to add her husband to the ticket. But Larry, does this show Hillary may be looking to her husband to kind of help regain some of that popularity she's lost?
Well, he wasn't much of an advantage for her in 2008, was he? I mean, he pulled out all the stops. It did not help her then. As far as I know, he has not changed his ways in terms of his private life. I think it would be it'd be a colossal mistake for her to even think about adding him to the ticket. I don't think he's going to help her.
Well, along the same lines, go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, it's not a conversation about adding him to the ticket. It can't be done. It's completely illegal. That's just not even worth talking about. I'll tell you what, though. Say what you will about Bill Clinton. If I had to choose one politician, one person with political ability in this country to get behind my candidacy, it'd be a pretty easy choice, and I'll bet you any Republican would say the same. You'd want Bill Clinton.
Yeah, he was extremely popular, very charismatic. He connects well with others. So
and he's a great politician.
Right. Well, along the same lines, the Clinton campaign, you may have heard this. Remember when they said that they had no plans to attack presidential candidate Bernie Sanders? Remember that? Well, now a pro-Clinton super PAC is circulating an email that sheds negative light on Senator Bernie Sanders. Larry, the Democratic candidates have not attacked one another so far. Does this show that the Clinton campaign feels threatened by Bernie Sanders?
It most certainly does. The polls are now showing that Bernie Sanders is ahead in Iowa, has a lead also in New Hampshire. But I agree with Rick. Bernie Sanders is not going to be the nominee. I think Colonel Sanders has a stronger chance of becoming the nominee than Bernie Sanders, and Colonel Sanders is dead.
I got a chuckle out of it.
Makes better chicken, too.
That can turn everything around if Biden gets in. And that's what Biden is waiting for. He's waiting to make sure that Hillary Clinton is dead. As long as if he feels he's dead, he'll get in. He does not want to be the guy to run against Hillary and try to snatch the nomination away from her, because a lot of women will feel that it's Hillary's turn. But if he's dead, Biden is in.
Rick, I see you nodding your head like you're agreeing with Larry.
Yeah,
Do you feel the same way?
I do. I do on a lot of things, but I do want to add one thing, though. Remember that the attacks on Sanders were by a super PAC, not by the Clinton campaign. Very important to note those are two very, very separate things.
All right. Larry Elder, Rick Ungar, thanks so much for joining us. Good to have you.
Got it. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, for anyone wondering, this is a comedy show. Would anyone like to hear a joke?
Steven tells you his jokes, so does Jimmy, Seth, and Conan. Headlines and punchlines later in the show. And somebody no one seems to be laughing about, Vladimir Putin. Up next, Ted Bell discusses his new book, Patriot.